Hi, welcome to How to Repair. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to go into self-test diagnostic mode on this type of LG. We have many LGs in the workshop at the moment, and I'm going to be doing videos on changing all the components and also how to enter test mode on all these machines, because the variations in entering test mode is very different from model to model of LG machine. We're also going to be using the demonstration machine to explain each individual test procedure during the diagnostic mode, so you understand what the problem may be with your LG washing machine. Now, this is a straightforward 4-button version. It's quite an old machine, about 7-8 years old, and to enter diagnostic mode you need to make sure that the drum is empty. That is the most important thing, and it needs to be connected to the water supply. Shut the door, then press the 2 central buttons. On this machine it is spin and temperature, but this will vary around the world depending on what the actual model of the machine is. Pressing these 2 buttons down, press the on-off button to activate diagnostic mode. You will hear a click. This means it's just tested the door lock. Let me explain what it's doing at the moment. All the lights are illuminated, so it's testing the LED system, and it's just tested the door interlock. It is now also showing you the software version that is on the screen. If the door lock had failed and not actually passed the testing, it would have come up with a DE error code at this point. The way you go through the diagnostic procedure is just with the start button. Every time you press it, it moves the actual diagnostic program to the next step. Now, next step is 1, 2 and 3. All these are motor actions, and the motor is actually a direct drive motor, and we've got additional videos to assist you in changing hall sensors and direct drive motors or PCBs. So the first test that we do is pressing the play button or start button, and this will do a 50 RPM anti-clockwise rotation on this model of machine. If you have other models of machine, it may be doing a clockwise rotation. In the display here you can see that it is showing 5.1 to 5.0. This is the RPM that the machine is doing. Now, you can also check the RPM with an actual device called a tachometer, which is very cheap to buy, and that points a light at the motor and counts the amount of revolutions that it does. Now, step 2 is actually going to do 50% of the maximum spin speed. Now, this machine is a 1200 spin speed, so when we press this, the motor will accelerate, and we usually go above it slightly just while it's accelerating and then drop down to the correct spin speed. So pressing it once, you will see that the machine starts doing a clockwise rotation, and it's using all 3 digits on this machine. On other models of machines, it may only be doing 6-7 as it's doing at the moment, or 6-3, but you would just be adding a 0 in your head, because that's basically, some displays have only got 2 digits available to them, other displays like this one have 4 digits available. So that is doing roughly 600 RPM, and the pump is running also. The next stage is stage 3, and that will actually take you up to the maximum RPM that is on your machine. On this machine it's a 1200 machine, but you have multiple variations of machines going all the way up to 14 or 1600 spin speed, and as low as 1000. You can actually see the display here now, and again it will go slightly over 1200, and then as the program reads the RPM, it will reduce the voltage to bring it down to the correct spin speed. And that's basically all the motor steps dealt with. Now, the next few steps are to deal with the water valve and also the pressure switch and the program with regards to the fill system and also the heating system. Okay, I've stopped the machine before we go into test 4, 5 and 6, because you need to understand the numbers that are going to show up in the display. If you do not understand the numbers, you have no chance of understanding what the machine's information is giving you. So I needed to explain the pressure system and the water valve system to you. Old pressure switches used to be mechanical. Since 2005, 2007, they've now started working on frequency, sending a frequency reading to the actual program. Now, the way this works is you have a pressure bowl at the bottom of the machine. This then can either be attached to the drum or the sump hose. As the water rises in the machine, it pressurizes the air in this chamber. This then is transferred via a small pipe up to the pressure switch, and this pressure switch then gives a frequency reading to the program to tell it what level of water is in the machine. This then will decide whether to turn the water valves on or off. Okay, now we understand the pressure system and the water valves. We can now move into the next test sequence. This now, with the drum with no water in, is giving us a reading on the display of 260. As the water fills in the machine, this number will change and you will see it dropping. It will only allow the machine to fill to a maximum level on this model of machine to 230. As you can see here, we have one water valve active. This machine only has two water valves on it. This one came off a washer dryer which had three water valves fitted. This will continue to fill. Now you could just leave it filled to 230, but you would not be checking the other valves. So moving on to test 5, we are going to move to a different water valve. Now the chamber is filling on the main wash side. If I press it again, it will only continue filling. It is not actually testing any other components because this circuit board may have been designed for something with 3 water valves or another feature. There are many different features on a lot of LG machines, so there are additional test programs built in for things like recirculation pumps and other components on the machine. As I said earlier, it will vary from model to model. So if you find any test procedures on your machines, wherever you are in the world, please leave it in the comments with your model number. It will assist other people in the future. Okay, the machine now has been running for a few minutes and filling on this final stage of stage 6 in the test sequence before we move on to the heating and agitation system. You can see here that we have a reading of 232 and it's still dropping. Once it gets through to 230, then it will turn the water valve off, meaning that it's reached the maximum level that it's required, say for example on a rinse cycle. When it's actually filling on some of the economy washes that may be built into this machine, it would fill at a different level, therefore saving money on water. The machine has stopped, 230. The pressure is just equalizing in the drum and it's turning on and off, and it will do this for about a minute or so while it finds the perfect maximum level of water. Right, now we're going to move into test 7. This is just going to do the opposite rotation to earlier, and it will test the motor rotating in a clockwise rotation. It will also display the RPM on the screen. So this is doing 50 RPM in a clockwise rotation. Now the next stage of the test is to do with the heating system. Now, a lot of people will not have the instrumentation for doing this correctly, and I'm going to show you on my displays the actual wattage that the machine is pulling when it kicks into heat, because the heater is only turned on for 3 seconds while it's testing the heater and also displaying the temperature on the actual screen here. We're going to advance to step 7 on this machine in the diagnostic sequence, but it will vary now on different models of machines, because if you have a recirculation pump, this was where this stage may be, and you would see water actually coming down the glass from the recirculation pump running. You also may have a washer dryer, and that may be slightly different in programming. But this next stage is going to test the NTC sensor for reading the temperature and also do a test on the element as well. Now, on my instrumentation here, I'm able to see that the element is being activated. If you had an error at this point with the heating system, it should be showing a display, an error code on the display on the screen. But if I bring this actual meter larger down here for you so you can actually see what's going on, and I press the advance, we've got a temperature of roughly 15 degrees water in the machine, so the NTC sensor is reading the temperature correctly, and you can see all about NTC sensors in another video on how they work and how to understand if they're working within their parameters. As you saw, the element pulled just under 9 amp of power, meaning that it's a 2 kilowatt element, and the element is correct as well. Now, there would be other stages, as I said, if we advance the program now, where it could be testing things like the recirculation pump, the heating system for the washer dryers, and any other components the manufacturers have put in that will be different to different machines with different model numbers. But the next test now, which is 8, is just the pump emptying the machine on this. This is also now, the water has fully emptied, taken our reading on the actual pressure switch back up to 260, telling the machine that the machine is now fully empty. And there you go, the actual test procedure is finished. You can actually just start the machine now and select any program you require. Remember, I've put links in the description below to assist you with all LG repairs. That's either diagnostic procedure on other machines or actually changing components that we talked about on this machine. There's also some disassembly actual videos in there to show you how the whole machine comes apart and how to replace all components from hoses to door seals, motors, etc. Remember to buy our parts off us. I've also put a link in the description. Remember always to use your full model number off the identification plate when obtaining parts. And if we really helped you, you can always click on the Bipolar Beer page to donate to the website to support us. Thanks very much indeed for watching this video.